Napoleon Hill's secret that will change your prosperity. You know there's something strange happening in the world. Everyone talks about change. Everyone wants change, but few actually change. It's almost ironic. People have more access to knowledge than ever before, but they remain trapped in the same routines, the same fears, and the same results. And then the troubling question arises. If everyone knows what they need to do, why do so few actually do it? Napoleon Hill already said that there is an invisible point that separates those who achieve from those who only dream, and that point is not where most people imagine it to be. He explains that what prevents someone from changing is not a lack of motivation, nor a lack of opportunity, but the inability to transform intention into action. It seems too simple, even too obvious, but that's exactly what makes this secret so powerful. Because while most people live waiting for a magical turnaround, winners create their own turnaround through small daily decisions. It's almost unfair. The world celebrates the result, but ignores the silent process that built that result. And it is in this silence that the secret you are about to discover resides. Many people believe they need to feel the urge before starting, and that's where everything falls apart. The truth is, waiting for the urge is like waiting for a train that never comes. The secret that changes everything doesn't depend on inspiration, luck, or perfect timing. It depends on something simpler, deeper, and infinitely more transformative. Something anyone can apply today, right now, without money, without resources, and without asking anyone's permission. And when a person understands this, they never look at their own life the same way again. If Napoleon could tell you just one thing, it would be, it's not the big turning point that transforms life, but the small decision you make when no one is watching. It is precisely this decision, so discreet, so ignored, that defines who will build the future and who will repeat it. And that's why what you're about to hear isn't just another motivational speech. It's a map, a mental code, a secret that, if truly applied, is capable of changing everything. But before revealing it, there's something you need to understand deeply. Why do some achieve while others only dream? He always noticed that there's a silent distance between what people say and what they actually do. It's curious, because everyone knows someone who's been talking about a big project for years, but never took the first step. Meanwhile, someone else, discreetly, transforms a dream into routine, and a routine into results. This difference isn't in intelligence, nor in luck. It's in how each person deals with their own initial impulse. And that impulse, when not nurtured, evaporates faster than Monday morning motivation. Hill understands that dreaming is easy, almost too comfortable, because it doesn't require risk, doesn't demand sacrifice, and doesn't generate fear. Acting, however, that's another story. Acting exposes a person to error, criticism, and even the judgment of their own conscience. That's why many prefer to live in the realm of imagination, where everything is possible and nothing hurts. But achievers, they embrace discomfort as part of the process, almost like someone learning to enjoy a strong coffee first thing in the morning. Napoleon always says that life leaves clues about who achieves, those who begin before they feel ready. While the dreamer waits for a sign from the universe, the achiever creates their own sign, adjusting their pace along the way, stumbling, but moving forward. And if someone asks for an example, Hill mentions simple things: learning something new for 20 minutes a day, reading books like Atomic Habits or Think and Grow Rich, or even starting that course the person has been putting off for months. The achiever starts small, but they start, and that's where their story and the dreamer's story begin to diverge, preparing the ground for something even deeper. The real secret that separates those who win from those who give up. It is often said that the real secret lies not in desire, because everyone desires, What truly separates those who succeed from those who give up is the ability to transform willpower into a daily, almost automatic habit. Most people stop because they believe they need to feel motivated to act, when in reality, action is what awakens motivation. It's like pushing a parked car. The first few centimeters require absurd force, but then it slides. It's in this initial push that most give up, and where the winner begins to gain an advantage. The winner doesn't wait for a perfect scenario. They create movement even when the terrain is uneven. The disciplined person learns to ignore the emotional mountain of the day, that oscillation between "I'm feeling good today" and "it's not going to work today." Instead, they adopt processes, rituals, small routines that shield their mind against sabotage. For example, studying 10 pages a day, walking for 15 minutes, reviewing goals weekly. Simple, yet consistent. This type of practice creates a kind of silent power that the quitter doesn't even realize exists. The secret is not strength, nor genius, but strategic repetition. While the quitter becomes discouraged at the first sign of discomfort, the winner interprets discomfort as progress. It's almost like learning a new language. In the beginning, it's confusing, chaotic, frustrating. But it's precisely this phase that molds the brain to understand what previously seemed impossible. When a person understands this, they see success as daily practice, not as a miracle. And this perception opens doors to something even more revealing in the next topic. A trained mind: how to overcome laziness, fear, and procrastination. The mind is like a muscle. If it's not trained, it seeks the shortest, most comfortable, and of course, the least challenging path. That's why laziness, fear, and procrastination seem normal. The mind just wants to protect the person from effort. But the achiever learns to negotiate with this primitive instinct, almost like talking to a stubborn child. They don't wait to overcome laziness before acting. They act despite it. And over time, this attitude creates a kind of mental resistance that's hard to break. Fear doesn't disappear when you confront it. What disappears is the control it had over you. Procrastination, for example, isn't a lack of willpower, but an excess of fear. Fear of making mistakes, of not being perfect, of being judged. That's why Hill encourages simple practices, such as dividing large tasks into micro-steps, using the Pomodoro technique, or even listing only 3 priorities per day. It's impressive how these small actions create a sense of control. And when a person feels in control, fear loses its power. Hill also shares an uncomfortable truth. No one wakes up naturally disciplined. Discipline is born from repeating uncomfortable choices until they become familiar. Napoleon himself recounted how he trained his mind starting with tiny habits, like making his bed every day, or reading for 5 minutes before bed. These are decisions that seem silly, but they train the brain to obey, not to negotiate. And when the mind begins to obey, something extraordinary happens, and this sets the stage for the next topic, where consistency reveals itself as the link that many ignore. Constancy, the invisible link between desire and fulfillment. Hill always states that consistency is the ingredient that almost no one sees, but every extraordinary result carries. Desire ignites the flame, but it is consistency that keeps the fire alive on days when the wind blows strongly. Curiously, people praise achievements, but rarely notice the small decisions that were repeated for months, sometimes years. It's like looking at a finished building and ignoring how many bricks were laid while no one paid attention. And it is precisely in this invisible element that the power of winners resides. Consistency doesn't stem from enthusiasm, but from self-responsibility. It's when a person decides to persevere even without the will to, even without immediate results, even without applause. Hill uses a simple example. Someone who studies 20 minutes a day learns more in a year than someone who tries to study only 3 hours on days when They feel inspired. The brain loves rhythm, routine, repetition. That's how it creates behavioral patterns. And when a person understands this mechanism, they stop depending on motivation to move forward. Hill likes to compare consistency to drops of water falling on a stone. A single drop makes no difference, but thousands of them sculpt the surface. Similarly, small daily actions generate transformations that seem like miracles to those watching from the outside. Those who practice consistency don't live by giant leaps. They live by firm steps. And that's why they go further. And while many tire themselves out wanting quick results, the consistent person is strengthened by knowing they are building something bigger, something that begins to become even clearer in the next section, where he shows why 99% stop exactly at the point where the 1% wins, the point where 99% give up and 1% win. Napoleon. It's always said that there's an invisible point in the journey where almost everyone stops. And curiously, this point appears when a person is closer to the result than they imagine. It's when energy drops, progress seems slow, and the mind begins to question whether it's worth continuing. Many confuse this exhaustion with failure, and that's when 99% give up. But the 1% recognizes this moment as a test, almost as if life were asking, "Do you really want this?" And this small detail changes everything. Hill explains that most people give up because they believe difficulty is a sign that something is wrong, when in fact it's proof that something is evolving. It's like training at the gym. The muscle only grows when it burns. Similarly, a dream only strengthens when it demands resistance. He even jokes that if the journey were too easy, it probably wouldn't lead anywhere. And for those who want real practice, he recommends observing an abandoned goal and resuming it for just 5 minutes a day. This simple return usually rekindles the flame that seemed extinguished. He reminds us that the 1% isn't special. They simply understand that persistence isn't about never getting tired, but about continuing even when tired. They develop a kind of intelligent stubbornness, an active faith that resists the silence of results and internal doubts. It's at this stage that many confuse stagnation with a lack of progress, when in reality they are going through the valley of transformation. And this valley prepares people for the next phase, because it soon reveals that pain, failure, and obstacles are not enemies, but the raw material for the growth that follows. How to transform pain, failure, and obstacles into stepping stones. Pain, when understood, ceases to be an enemy and becomes a teacher. Most people try to run away from it, as if it were a sign that something has gone wrong, but winners interpret it as a natural part of the refinement process. He reminds us that every failure carries precious information, almost like a hidden note in the middle of the mess. The dreamer sees pain and stops. The achiever sees pain and asks, "What is this trying to teach me?" And this simple question completely changes the course of the journey. Hill explains that many of his greatest achievements stemmed from moments of frustration, those days when everything seemed to fall apart. It is in these moments that the mind expands, new ideas emerge, and a person learns to make important adjustments. He uses as an example someone who failed in a business but discovered exactly what not to do, and that information is invaluable. Similarly, an investor who loses money on a risky stock but learns to diversify intelligently. Each stumble, when analyzed, becomes a map for the next step. Obstacles are like weights in a gym. The more you face, the stronger you become. The difference is that most people see the weight and give up before even trying to lift it. But those who understand the process face the obstacle as part of the training, taking a deep breath and advancing inch by inch. And when that person realizes how much they have evolved, something inside them changes forever. This strengthening opens the way for an even deeper revelation: the distinction between motivation and decision, a theme that completely transforms how someone behaves in the face of their own dreams. The difference between motivation and decision. Hill always says that motivation is a polite visitor. It shows up when it wants, stays a short time, and never warns when it's leaving. That's why depending on it is as unstable as depending on the weather. Sometimes it rains, sometimes it's sunny, and sometimes the day simply doesn't cooperate. Decision-making, on the other hand, is like an internal commitment, a kind of contract with yourself. It doesn't ask if you're excited, it just reminds you of what needs to be done. Winners know this instinctively, and that's why they don't wait to feel it before acting. Napoleon explains that when someone acts solely out of motivation, progress comes in waves, days of extreme productivity followed by days of complete abandonment. It's like running enthusiastically for the first kilometer and then giving up because you're out of breath. Decision, on the other hand, creates consistency, that calm force that keeps a person moving, even slowly, but moving nonetheless. He gives a practical example. Reading 10 pages every day, even when tired, is worth more than reading 100 pages only when enthusiasm strikes. Decision builds. Motivation only inspires for a few minutes. The decision has something almost sacred about it. It comes from within. It doesn't depend on external factors. When someone truly decides, they create a new identity, a kind of, I do this because it's who I am. It's at this point that habits cease to be obligations and begin to become part of the person's very structure. And when this transformation happens, they begin to perceive a practical and achievable path to becoming a truly disciplined person. And it is precisely this path that opens up in the next topic, the practical path to becoming a disciplined winner. Discipline is not a secret talent, but a set of simple choices made every day. It's almost like building a strong body. It doesn't happen with one intense workout, but with several consistent workouts. Napoleon recommends starting small, almost imperceptibly, like waking up 10 minutes earlier, drinking water upon waking, or practicing 5 minutes of morning reading. These are minimal steps that send the message to the brain. I am in control. And that feeling of control changes everything. He also suggests that people set up their environment to facilitate making the right choices. Want to read more? Leave the book open on the table. Want to work out? Lay out your workout clothes the night before. Want to study? Use apps that block distractions for short periods, like Forest or Freedom. He always says that discipline doesn't depend on willpower, but on strategy. And strategy is something anyone can learn. When the environment helps, the effort decreases, and the chance of giving up drops drastically. Napoleon explains that to create true discipline, a person needs to track their own progress. This can be done with a planner, a habit tracker, or even apps like Habitica and Notion. Seeing small, accumulated victories creates a feeling of accomplishment that fuels the cycle of action. He himself has said that when he started recording his routines, he realized he was doing much more than he imagined, and this motivated him to continue. And when someone discovers this practical and achievable path, it becomes clearer why acting today, even imperfectly, is the lever that prepares everything for the next point in the journey. The awakening. Act today, and don't wait for the perfect moment. The greatest enemy of dreams is not failure, but the eternal wait for the perfect moment. People imagine they will wake up one day with ideal energy, plenty of money, favorable weather, and zero problems, but that day never comes. Real life is made up of ordinary, noisy, imperfect days full of distractions. And yet, it is on these ordinary days that winners begin. He always says, if you wait for everything to align, you'll wait forever. Taking action today doesn't mean doing everything today, but taking the first step before your mind starts making excuses. It could be sending an email you've been putting off, organizing your workspace, studying just one page, or taking a 5-minute walk. It's symbolic, but powerful. Hill recounts that many great entrepreneurs started with minimal, almost timid actions that seemed irrelevant at first. But it was this small movement that unlocked the gears that changed everything. The perfect moment is an illusion created to protect a person from the responsibility of starting. Those who understand this awaken to a new reality, that each small action today is worth more than the vague promise of doing it tomorrow. Napoleon Hill encourages people to test this with something simple, like starting that project they've had for years with just 3 minutes of dedication. And when they realize the impact of that initial movement, something inside them opens up, naturally preparing the ground for the engaging introduction that will bring the entire video to life. After hearing all this, something inside you probably became restless, and that's a good thing. Restlessness is the first sign that the mind has awakened to a new level of consciousness. But awakening isn't enough. Life doesn't change when you understand. It changes when you apply. So the question is simple, direct, and almost uncomfortable. What are you going to do with all this? Are you going to close the video and go back to the routine that frustrates you? Or are you going to use this opportunity to write a new chapter in your story? Think for a moment. What is the first small action you can take? Today, a tiny, almost insignificant step, but one that signals to your mind that you are taking control. Perhaps it's resuming a dormant project. Perhaps it's organizing an environment that's disrupting your mental clarity. Perhaps it's studying for 5 minutes, or finally sending that message that will unlock something important. The size doesn't matter. What matters is the movement. Because it's the movement that separates those who only wish from those who truly transform. How long will you continue to call what is, at its core, a lack of decision, a lack of time? How long will you accept a life less than the life you know you can live? Napoleon Hill said that action is the point where dreams meet reality, and now that point is before you. The question is, do you cross it, or do you retreat? If this resonated with you, then apply it. Take action. Change something today, even if it's small. And before you leave, answer in the comments, what is the first action you will take today? Your answer could inspire someone else. And more importantly, it could be the start of your own turning point. And of course, if you want to continue learning, being inspired, and becoming a stronger, more disciplined, and more conscious person, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Here, each video is a nudge in the direction of the life you deserve to live.